Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and a wonderful morning to the wonderful class. May you have a bundle of great things in the day. Good morning. This is my lecture number 11 for grade Prio, and today we have a geography class. As we are done with chapter number 1, which is the natural topography including the drainage pattern of Pakistan. So today I want to do question number 9 of your chapter, and just because there you might have some difficulties in these geographical terms, so I want to revise them all with you today. So please keep turn on page number 27, and here is question number 9. With the help of the text in unit 1 and from your studies, find out the definitions of the following geographical terms. So here we have 19 geographical terms. I want to give you the definitions of these terms, and I've tried to explain all these terms again. The first one is the relief or the natural topography, and relief and topography both gives us the knowledge of the elevation and the type of landforms of a place, but topography also tells us about the surface shape and the distribution of landform in a region. Relief features are those features which are related to landscape of those areas. For example, mountains, altitude. Altitude is the height of a place, valleys, types of lands, and heights of mountains. They are the opposite of the drainage pattern as it includes water channels, while relief does not. So in geography, relief refers to the highest and the lowest elevation points in an area. Mountains and ridges are typically the highest elevation points, while valleys and other low-lying areas are the lowest. Relief means the height and shape of the land. I like to remember it by thinking about how relieved I am when I get to the top. This associates it with land height and shape. Take care with the spelling though. Topography is the study of shapes and features on Earth's surface. The origin of topography comes from topo for place and graphia for writing. So topography is the study of the land surface. In particular, it lays the underlying foundation of a landscape. For example, topography refers to the mountains, valleys, rivers, or craters on the Earth's surface. The second one is drainage. This is the system of water bodies or water waste liquids flowing away from somewhere into a ground or a down pipes. Basically, these are the water channels, all the water bodies and their channels. The naturally occurring channel flow formed by streams and rivers which removes water from the land surface. So simply, drainage is the natural or artificial removal of surface and subsurface water from an area. The third one is the braided channels. For a short period of years, some rivers carry a very high load in relation to their velocity. For example, during snow melt periods in alpine or Arctic areas, when a river's level falls rapidly, competence and capacity are reduced and channels become choked with material, causing the river to braid, divide into a series of diverging and converging segments. Diverging and converging, like sometimes the channels are moving towards each other and sometimes they are moving apart from each other. So they are a kind of interlaced channels. So these are river channels which is divided into several channels separated by alluvium deposits. Braided channels are subdivided at low water stages by multiple midstream bars of sand or gravel. The fourth one is the sand dunes. Dunes are large masses of wind-blown sand and are most common in deserted environments such as the Sahara and also near beaches. An area with dune is called a dune system. In physical geography, a dune is a hill of loose sand built by a wind process or by the flow of water. So these are actually the piles of sand deposited by wind. The leeward side or slip face has a steeper slope. Windward side is more gradual. The fifth one is the low-lying areas. These are the areas that having little or no elevation above a surface or a level, especially the ground level or the sea level. They are lying close to water or ground level. The low-lying areas are, we can say, the low-lying coastal areas situated below the normal height or altitude. The next one is the oxbow lakes. An oxbow lake is a U-shaped lake that forms when a wide meander of river is cut off and that creating a freestanding body of water. So it is a crescent-shaped lake formed when a river breaks across the neck of a well-developed meander. An oxbow lake is a U-shaped body of water formed when a wide meander from the main stem of a river is cut off to create a lake. Next one is alluvial terraces. A plain formed from the deposition of alluvium usually adjacent to a river that periodically overflows. Alluvial terraces or bars are the areas of higher grounds formed between two rivers. It is rich in alluvium, a special soil, fertile soil, locally known as doab. Do and ab. Do means two, ab means water. So this is the doab is actually the area between two rivers. So on the doab there are always alluvial terraces. This is ideal for agriculture activities. These terraces are formed by the phases of cyclic erosion and deposition of alluvial sediments in a setting that generates a staircase. The eighth one is the inland drainage. The inland drainage is that drainage in which rivers do not reach an ocean or sea but empty their waters in a lake or an inland sea. A pattern of streams that drains towards the center of basins rather than towards the sea is called inland drainage. Like usually, we see that most of the rivers are giving its water to a sea. Like the Indus River, which is collecting water from its uh, western tributaries and also from its eastern tributaries, but in the end, it is giving its water to the Arabian Sea, but that isn't we cannot call it as an inland drainage. The inland drainage is a river or a water body that do not reach to an ocean or a sea but empty their water in a lake or an inland sea or inland sea channel. Then the next one, the ninth one, is the dry lakes, a nearly level area at the bottom of an undrained desert basin, sometimes temporarily covered with water, but sometimes. So a dry lake is either a basin or depression that formerly contained a standing surface water body. The water is not flowing anywhere. So that contained a standing surface water body, which disappeared when evaporation process exceeded recharge. So on number 10, there's residual hills. The residual hills are those hills which have been eroded by the agents of degradation such as wind, rain, frost, and running water. The hard rocks that are left behind are called the residual hills or the residual mountains. When the process of erosion takes place, a gigantic wave of water flows on the mountains. Gigantic means a huge wave of water flows. And other highlands areas, this causes boulders, sediments, and other solid materials are washed away. And when these rocks resituated in a large size on other parts of land, they are then called residual hills. We can also say that the hard rocks left behind after erosion are called the residual hills. Gully erosion is a widespread and often dramatic form of soil erosion caused by flowing surface water. It consists of open, unstable channels that have been cut more than 30 centimeters deep into the ground. Gully erosion is a result of an interaction of land use, climate, and slope. A gully is a landform created by running water, eroding sharply into soil, typically on a hillside. Gullies resemble large ditches or small valleys. Ditches means a narrow channels that carry or hold water, but are meters to tens of meters in depth and width. The next one is the active floodplain. It is defined as an area on either side of a stream, a river, which is regularly flooded on a periodic basis. Active floodplain is a flat area with alluvial deposits adjacent to a water body which is regularly flooded. Active floodplains are narrow stripes of land along the Indus River, and its tributaries. Tributaries are the small rivers or the major rivers which are giving its water or contributing its water to River Indus. So these are called the tributaries of Indus River. So along the Indus River and its tributaries varying from 24 to 40 kilometer in width. They are inundated. Inundated means they are overflowing its water. They are flooded almost every year, covered with rich alluvium and are suitable for agriculture. But the old floodplains cover extensive areas between the active floodplain and the desert areas in the lower Indus Valley. So the next one is the interflows. An interflow is a narrow, elongated and plateau-like or ridge-like landform between two valleys. More generally defined as interflows as an area of higher ground between two rivers in the same drainage system. All terrain can be classified. Terrain means land. So all lands can be classified in one or two groups. These groups are valleys and interflows. Valleys are areas of lower terrain or lower land, while interflows are areas of high terrain located between valleys. These are the areas of high terrain located between valleys. The next one is the tidal delta. Let me explain the delta first. A river delta is a landform that forms at the mouth of a river, where the river flows into an ocean, sea, estuary, lake, or reservoir. So deltas form from deposition of sediment carried by a river or as the flow leaves its mouth. So a tidal delta is the sandbar or shoaling area left at the mouth of a river by the movement of bottom mud and sand by a diurnal tide and the currents that results from that tide. But a tidal delta is not the same as river delta. River deltas are created by soil deposits forming from the outflow of the water. A tidal delta is the sandbar area left at the mouth of a river by the movement of bottom mud and sand. A sandbar or a shoal formed in the entrance of an inlet by the action of reversing tidal currents. So the next one is the levees. A levee is a dike or embankment or a flood bank or a stop bank is an elongated and naturally occurring ridge or artificially constructed fill or we can say a wall that regulates water levels. It is usually earthen and often parallel to the course of a river in its floodplain or along a low-lying coastline. So this is just to prevent the water from overflow. So levee is a natural or artificial embankment of a river which confines the river within its channel and prevents flooding. Raised banks of a river with deposited material is called a levee. So the next is the alluvial fans. An alluvial fan is a triangle-shaped deposit of gravel, sand, and even smaller pieces of sediments, such as silt. This sediment is called alluvium. The alluvial fans are usually created as flowing water interacts with mountains, hills, or the steep walls of canyons. So it makes a shape of a hand fan, a Japanese hand fan. So it is a fan-shaped or cone-shaped deposits of gravel, sand, and smaller materials. An alluvial fan is a wide pile of sediment deposited where a river leaves the mountains. A fan-shaped deposit of coarse alluvium, sand, and gravel brought by a stream from the slopes of a hill or a mountain. So the next is the mangrove swamp. A mangrove swamp is a distinct saline woodland or shrubland habitated formed by mangrove trees in a brackish tidal water. It is a type of wetland forest made up of salt-adapted uh, trees found along tropical coast areas. It provides a rich habitat for strong biodiversity and helps to protect coast from erosion. The biodiversity is a measure of a health of ecosystems, and biodiversity is the variety of species, their genetic makeup, and the natural communities in which they occur. So the next or the second last is a cuesta. A cuesta is a hill or a ridge with a gentle slope on one side and a steep slope on the other. So a cuesta is a ridge of limestone with a steep slope on one side and a gentle slope on the other side, a ridge with a gentle slope on one side and a cliff on the other. So the last one is the meanders and the cover floodplain. This is the area over which the flood is known as a floodplain, and this often coincides with regions where meanders form. Which rivers flood in the middle valley, the cover an area of land known as the floodplain. When they flood, velocity is slowed and deposition of any rocks being transported is encouraged. So meanders are a loop-like bend in the course of a river developed in the process of erosion and deposition. And the cover floodplain, like these floodplains, are often seen merging with meander plains with hardly any differences, so that it is difficult to distinguish between meanders and the cover floodplains. These plains are formed only because of a variation in speed and decomposition. So here I'm going to give you an assignment as we are done with all 19 geographical terms. Here is you have to do question number 7, 8 and 9 on your notebooks. Question number 7 is explain how the desert topographical features influence the lifestyle of the people. So you know the topographical features of the desert. The desert, like their surface features, their climate, the harness of its climates, and the temperature, the scarcity of water there. So obviously, all of this can influence the lifestyle of the people. So you have to explain it. Then the question number 8 is like there are two parts. Describe the natural drainage of the Indus Delta. Describe the natural drainage. So you have to give the natural drainage pattern of the Indus Delta. And then you have to explain why the Indus Delta has a very low density of population, why the population is very low there. Both the questions 7 8 are from the past papers of November 2002. And the ninth question number 9 is with the help of the text in unit 1, and from your studies find out the definitions of the following geographical terms which we just have done in this lecture. So all 19 geographical terms are here. Do all these in your notebooks. Please do neat work, make a margin line, must write today's day and date, and please maintain your index. Thank you so much, dear students, for watching this video. I hope everything or all the geographical terms will be clear now. And still, if you have any problem, any confusion, drop your queries in the comment box, and we'll meet again in another video with another lecture. Till then, bye.